Recording light's on. Sorry. I really like the B-52s right now. I have no idea why. And of course, right as soon as I start recording, I get a phone call. I hope it's not something important. Hold on, let me see if I can pause the recording real quick. Let me try that again. Hold on. It's still good. They wanted to talk to me about my credit cards and have I been making late payments, and they can help me. They can help me with my credit card late payments. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, so I got that going for me. Welcome. This is a Introduction to Psychology. It's an 8-week class. It goes ridiculously fast. To me, I think this is the best way to get a class kind of done. In order to do it really well, it takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to kind of show you what the class looks like and what I kind of expect from you. I do this thing called ungrading. Ungrading is a very cool thing I learned from an English teacher. Her name is Bree. She just had a baby. And what it is that I ask you to do things. You do them, and I assess whether you did them correct or not. If you did them correct, you get a little, she uses emoticons. I'm just not an emoticon kind of guy. I say criteria met. Thank you. Okay. And so that little criteria met means, yes, you're progressing properly. And as you go through the class, each little assignment, so I'm going to show you how this kind of works. When you click on when you're on the home screen up here, there'll be some announcements up at the top, like where this recording is. And then as you look down, there's these things called modules. Most people who don't look at the modules, they just click over, okay, what's due? Well, I'm working on all the due dates right now. I've got a class at 1, it's 12:28. We'll get it done today. But so as you look down, most people just click on what's next. What assignments do I need to do? And if you do that, you miss a lot of the course content. So I really hope you can navigate through the modules. I'm not going to make it so you have to click through the modules because then it's a pain. So I'm going to trust that you're going to click on through the modules. Every single week, there is probably 5 or 6 things to do. None of the things require you to, quote, study. I don't really believe in studying as a hobby. What I believe in is doing as a hobby. I can spend all day watching videos on Instagram about lifting weights. I don't get any stronger. But if I go to the gym 3 days a week, I get stronger. If I go to the gym 4 days a week, I get cooler. If I go to the gym 5 days a week, my wife goes, "Where are you?" Anyway, so I like lifting weights. But so what I suggest is that you set some time up to do the class. You don't have to study, you have to do. I'm not asking you to memorize lots of things. What I'm asking you to do is to use lots of things. Now, one of the things I'm going to teach you how to use this class is AI. AI, do not be afraid of AI. A lot of faculty are like, it's going to ruin our kids. Well, they said that about the radio, and they said that about books initially. We don't want the riffraff reading because then they'll start thinking. We don't want that. So every time there's new technology, the old people panic and run away. Cyberdyne Systems, our former governor became alive in 2015 or something. Well, we have humanoid robots that can do neat stuff, and they have a robot dog with guns on it. So who cares? What I would suggest is learning how to use AI. Do not just let AI do your work for you. That's not the right way to use it. Think of it as a smart friend. You don't want your smart friend taking your class for you because you don't learn anything. If you just want to pass and get a grade, just go to one of those bio-degree colleges. But what you can use AI. AI is a really great tool. There's a couple that I use. I don't use them to generate content, but I use it to ask questions to. This is important, really important. The most important thing that you learn in college is not content, it's not knowledge. What you learn in college is how to gather information, how to collect information and can put that information into things that you can use. there's so much information in the world. The information is readily available online. Everything you need to know is on the internet. You need to know how to find it. You need to know how to filter out the good from the crap. You need to learn how to use information. That's what college is. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take you through the knowledge of psychology this break. I'm on break right now. It's spring break. You're probably on spring break too. Yeah, party. No, I'm not really partying. I'm sitting in my office drinking coffee with my dog. This is Ted. Ted, say hi. That's Ted. Ted is Cuyamaca College's therapy dog. He is not licensed yet. He is still working on his being a good dog. He's kind of an asshole to other dogs, but it's okay because he's working on it and he's getting much better. He pretty much just comes to class and makes people feel happy, and he cures people of being afraid of dogs. He's a really a fearful dog. Anyway, you'll hear more about Ted in a later episode. But getting back. So what you're going to do every single week, you are going to ask questions. At the beginning of the week, you're going to ask questions. Actually, it's more than a week because it's an 8-week class for 16 weeks, 2 chapters a week-ish. But you're going to ask questions. So there are questions in here. So for example, or more text messages, love it. Right, popular. Okay. Each chapter, there is a link that says the chapter 1, and it's a discussion. When you click on it, okay, it'll ask you something like, what are the questions you have for the class? What kind of things do you want to know about the class? That's the first one. But if I go back and I look at chapter 2, what questions do you have about research in psychology? In other words, if you go through some of this stuff, the content, each one of these links is a page of the book. Approaches to research. Ooh, you really need a nap? Read that. Actually, I really like that. That's kind of why I got into psych, but most students hate it. But so this is the textbook. It's right there. Ooh, naturalistic observations. I'm going to sit and watch Ted. Naturally, he's sleeping. He's still sleeping. I could do that all day. So that's all he does. Okay, he's a dog. Good life dog. Okay, so I'm going to close this back and go back again. So what I'm going to do is that, so if you go through the modules and just kind of skim through it, you can ask your favorite eye to explain it to you. Say, hey, can you summarize chapter 2 from OpenStax Psychology? It will summarize it for you. Use it. Use it to gain knowledge. Don't let it do your work for you. Never, ever copy and paste AI into your assignments, because that's letting the AI do your work for you. We don't want to it's like you just get squishy if you let somebody else lift weights for you. You want to be buff and strong. No, you don't. I don't care. So once you ask questions, I should move this down, but once you ask questions, I record answers to your questions. So I will go through and I will record answers to your questions. So that's where the quote lecture unquote part of the class is. So what I'll do is I interact with you after you ask questions. So if you don't ask questions by the due date, I won't generally respond to them in the recording. I will respond to them in the grading comments. I will respond to them in sometimes inline in the discussion. But if you get them done by the time they're due, then I can talk to you about them, and it's pretty cool. And I enjoy answering your questions. And I want complicated questions. Sometimes students ask me questions I don't know. So I like pretend to pause the computer or fake a phone call. I can open up my Google messages here and text myself, say, oh, I got to go for a second. And I'll go look it up and ask someone that knows more than me the answer. And then I'll come back and give the answer like I knew it. Again, knowledge is about asking questions. Being able to use the internet effectively, that is what intelligence is. It's not the amount of stuff that you know. It's being able to use the stuff that you know. So there's also a bunch of these little these little assignments. I'll explain these in a sec. Each one of these little assignments is really important. Each one of the little assignments leads to the connections essays, is where most of your grade is based on. So these little assignments are something really simple. This one is, wait for it, okay, find a research that's connected to the chapter. So this is an example of a research study. This is not a link from Google. This is a peer-reviewed academic journal article. So I'm going to force you to log into the LRC, into the library to do this. If you cannot log into the library to do this, there's a librarian chat help. You can go on the library and they can look for it. There's a bunch of other tools the librarians can share with you. And that's a really important thing to do, because if you talk to a librarian, librarians are the keeper of knowledge. I always yawn when I use Zoom. Sorry. If you're falling asleep watching this, you're just going to put you out. I don't think I breathe deep enough when I'm doing Zooms. So, because I don't have to talk really loud, so I don't take deep breaths, so I start yawning. I all the time, whenever I'm recording a Zoom. So I'll do that to you no matter what time of day it is, no matter how much my favorite beverage I've had. Okay, so when you do these little assignments, they're pretty simple. They're not asking you to do a lot. Here's the brains one. That's finding a zombie up and get zombie up. This is just find a chunk of the brain and share it with the class. Simple. Each one of these, I'm going to scroll down. You can do each one of them. They're relatively self-explanatory. Remember, each chapter, you're going to ask questions based on the modules or the chapters. And then when you get down to the bottom, here it is, what I'm looking for. Again, the due dates are kind of wonky on this. Connections essays. So let me open up the first connection essay. Okay, so what I did is I copy and pasted the assignments that you need to do before you can do this connections essay. Students will use examples from each of the modules and explain the structure of the mind. We're going to talk about this a lot in the recordings. We're going to talk about, this is what the whole first unit is what is the structure of the mind? What is it made from? What is it built out of? And so each time we go through this, we're going to go talking about doing this. Okay, very important. All right, so scrolling. Okay, so in order to do this, you can click on Start Assignment. You can either upload a Word document. Please don't use, well, actually, Pages work now. I don't care. If you do it in Google Docs, please download a PDF and save the PDF up and put that in there, because if you do Google Doc, I can't access it directly unless I ask for permission. Google Docking. If you want to record a video, if you want to record a video, please do. That would be cool for me too. You can also just copy and paste a text entry into here. That's fine. Again, if you copy and paste a AI in here, I don't care if your writing sucks. I don't care if English is your third language or fourth language. I had one student who spoke 6 languages. His grammar was terrible. I don't care. What I'm looking for is your ideas. And I want as you get on in school, you need to work on that. But when you use AI grammar fixers, it takes the human out of the language, and I don't hear your voice. All I hear is AI voice. I'd rather hear your voice, even if it is with a really heavy accent. It doesn't matter to me. So I really want you to not use AI corrective tools. They don't really help you. They just make things sound better, but everything ends up sounding the same, and it's not fun. I like fun. Fun is good, like the Cat in the Hat. Okay, without the danger and the messes. I like the messes. I guess I am the Cat in the Hat. Cool. Go back to the modules. Okay, one more thing. Let's see. Okay, so the recorded chapters, I'm going to record comments. They're in each of the modules has a link. There's no recordings yet because this one's going to go there, but whatever. And then hit back. And then the next one down is called the TED and More Media. I really like this stuff. If you find a good TED Talk that's beyond this, okay, hold on, there's a second one. I think this is one I need. That's not the one I'm looking for either. I'm waiting for a phone call from a former employer to sign a stupid document. So I had to unblock my blocked phone numbers. And now I'm getting a phone call you could saw that about every 10 minutes or so. Nice. Anyway, sorry. So this page is full of TED Talks and videos and YouTube clips that I think are just really amazing. If you find more, if you find other TED Talks or other things that are also interesting, please let me know and I will post them onto this page. These are the ones that I use in my campus-based classes, so they're good for you. One of the biggest things that I really am enjoying doing right now is listening to Ologies with Ali Ward. Alie Ward is a relatively crazy person. She's really fun. But what she does is she interviews famous people. It's a capybara. Anyway, when she interviews famous people, what she does is she sciences it, but also makes it fun. And I really love these. I do not pay the $1 a month subscription fee for it because I'm cheap. But you can and support her, but whatever you want. Okay, but the thing is that there's a lot of really good psych stuff. If you scroll through it, you can find there's stuff on personality, there's stuff on emotions. The one that's right now is called Disgustingology or Disgustology, which is the study of disgust, which is a really powerful emotion, which we talk about in class. So it's right in there. Everything that she talks about, you can find nuggets of the class in there. So the other ones are pretty much new, just all the different TED Talks and YouTube videos that are just amazing. Some of them, like this one, the audio didn't work right because it's copyrighted and it was not scanned properly, but whatever, it's close. Okay. So let me go back. Last thing. So there's a grading rubric for the class. If you do all the connections essays with criteria met, and you do most of the short assignments, you will get an A. There's a certain percentage. I think there's a total of 17 little assignments to do, 16 or 8-week class, 2 a week. And so I think if you do 80% of them, you get an A with the connections essays. There's a rubric, it's posted in Canvas. I will show it to you when I post it into Canvas. I haven't done that yet. Second thing is you have to ask a question every week. And that's a really important part for me because it makes sure that you're engaged, make sure that you are trying to put some of yourself into the class. Okay, and the last thing I promise, then I'll put my music back on and dig my head back into this. Then I've got class in 15 minutes. Real people. Okay. I really want to make sure that you are a real person. We've had multiple people taking this class for someone else. We've had multiple people take this class as robots. We had a bunch of robots sign up for classes and charge the school, find financial aid and all sorts of neat stuff. So I need to make sure you're a real person. So I need some sort of real people documentation. Please do not take a photograph of your driver's license and post it in the discussion. That's not safe. So I want something that's special for you, special, unique for you. Share, I can prove that I'm a real person really quickly. So I want to make sure that I know who you are. Okay, this is the prompt for my campus-based class. So in order for me to know who you are, it's like you need a picture of yourself. If you don't feel like comfortable having a picture of yourself on there, take a picture of your favorite chair in your house. Take a picture of your favorite pet. Take a picture of your favorite restaurant. Something to humanize you as a person. If you can, when your little account button up here, if you can personalize it with a real photo, it's so nice for me to have a picture of somebody. Shayla last year had a picture of Michelle Obama as her picture of self. I met her in real life and she's like, wait, you don't look like Michelle Obama. Anyway, but just whatever you want, put a picture there so that I can identify with you. And a wonderful student last 2 years during the pandemic was standing there holding a Dole Whip. And it was so great seeing her every day standing there with this joy on her face holding a Dole Whip at Disneyland. And it was so obviously a Disneyland Dole Whip. It was just ideal, perfect icon for account cover. Okay, that's enough of this dribble. I'll find the stop button here somewhere. All right, see ya.